Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm honored to be joined by Mrs. Janice George Harris, an educator and now author of Little Hill Stories. Of course, Mrs. Harris has chosen to document stories that her dad, Mr. Roosevelt George, once told her, and now she's sharing it with the world. She has over 30 years of experience in education, and today we're going to talk about this journey and, of course, how you can get a copy of the book. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctvvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
Andy, turns out I'm allergic to the Australian veggie spread.
Ooh, thankfully CG will cover you anywhere in the world. Remember when I went to Australia for my title fight? Trust me when I say you do not want to get in the ring with a kangaroo. It wasn't until my victory dinner with the Sultan that I realized top shelf caviar doesn't agree with me. But I was covered. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm teaching your cousin how to use a flamethrower. Woohoo!
Medical cover anywhere in the world. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, I am joined by Mrs. Janice George Harris, the author of Little Hill Stories. Mrs. Harris, welcome to our platform. It is good to see you.
It's good to see you, and thanks for having me, Ron.
The pleasure is all mine. We know you as a lifelong learner, an educator, playwright, and now you have added an author to your very long list of experience and accolades. Little Hill Stories is pretty much a documentation of stories that your dad, Mr. Roosevelt George, would share with you.
Yes.
You could have documented your dad's life in a number of different ways, an autobiography, even a play, perhaps,
Yes.
A documentary, but you chose Little Hill Stories, a very easy to read book that I could see young boys in our community reading. Tell me about your process in getting to this point.
Well, first of all, Ron, I really wanted to honor my dad and keep some of him with us for generations to come. And not just him, but my aunts and uncles and all those individuals or ancestors from Little Hill on North Sound, Virgin Gorda. And so I thought of what has he contributed to us. And I thought of the stories that he told us over the years, and he still continues to tell. And all of those stories teach about morals and values and a different type of life that we are having now. And so I decided the best way I can do him justice and his stories justice is to have it in the form of a book that will reach students, young people, and encourage boys especially to read, because, you know, it was a group of young boys. My dad and his siblings, mainly boys in his age group, they would have so much mischief, so much fun, delightful fun. And I feel that this is a book that I can see students really enjoying, and not just students, all of us, because all of us like stories.
Yes.
Who doesn't like a good story?
A good story, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, for those who do not know, you have been an educator for over 30 years. Of course,
Yes.
I mentioned the playwright, introducing many, like myself, to the art of theater arts,
Yes.
okay, and production and script writing. When you look at your journey, okay, and being able to document this level of work, what are you most proud of when you look at the book?
Quite interestingly, I love the artwork.
Okay, nice, nice. And as you can see, viewers, by the artwork, it pops. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a number of gifts, and being an artist is just one of them. And although, yes, I'm gifted with writing as well, for me with the book, it's just being able to recreate what life looked like back then. And I actually sat with my dad and tried to recreate it. So I would listen to him and ask questions. Okay, so what was your schoolhouse like? And he would describe, and I would try to get all the details. even to the type of tree that was in the yard, and steps leading up to the school. What
The
type
specifics.
Yeah. And when I completed it and I showed it to him in the book, he's like, yes. So I'm like, yes, I nailed it.
You got it. Wonderful. There's something very special that I have learned in interacting with a lot of our seniors within the community, and that is the art of being able to document their life, their history, their heritage. And I think you have done a tremendous job in recreating the life and legacy of Roosevelt George, your dad. We're going to have a book launch this upcoming Saturday. And what I love about the book launch is that you have chosen literally the hill. So we're going to go to Not Sound Virgin Gorda, the sound as everyone calls it, and that's where the setting of the book launch is going to be. Tell us about your choice of selecting that actual spot, and tell us about the launch.
Okay. So, yes, as you said, it's going to be in North Sound Virgin Gorda in the Methodist church yard. And quite incidentally, the church was not situated right there when my dad was young. It was at the bottom of the hill, and it's actually in the book.
Okay.
And the church was the school. So I felt that it was important and significant actually to have the launch right there. In addition to the fact that the Methodist church yard is actually above Little Hill, so you can actually look over and see the hill, experience the environment, the heat.
Of course, we're expecting a hot day,
Yeah, and of course you see the type of foliage that I also talked about in the book. So that is the reason I have that setting. Of course, it's going to be May 6th, which is Saturday coming.
Yes.
At 2:30 p.m. and the books will be on sale. I'm going to be selling the books for $20.
Beautiful.
So it's important, grab the books now while they're $20, because when they go to the other bookstores, it might be a little bit more than $20.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, viewers, I for sure will be heading over to the book launch, so you could catch the midday boat with me and head on over to Virgin Gorda. I want to talk about your process. Because that's very important. Having been continued to be an educator for so long, what was the process like in not only getting to this point, but documenting and actually really selecting this type of literature to remember your dad and to carry on his legacy? And thankfully, I must add, one of the most beautiful things I love about this is that your dad is still with us, and he is still able to enjoy and read the book, which I commend you on.
Thank you very much. And that means a lot to me, to be honest. When we were at home during COVID lockdown, life came full, face to me, and I was like, wow, life is so fragile. It is so short. Whatever we can do to enhance other people's lives, it's very important for us to do that. And it was during that time I said, even though I have been writing these stories in my head, it's time for me to get it down on paper while I still have him. And so I literally took some time and I just started typing. And because my process is always here. I visualize. I guess that's the artist in me. So I visualize things, and then it becomes a lot easier for me to actually write. And so when I got to the computer and I started typing, everything flowed. And what I actually did, because a lot of the stories were at different time, I had to find a way of weaving the stories together so that everything would make sense. And also incorporate the culture, incorporate a lot of the different things that is important for our students to know, and so that they would have better appreciation of our elders and of us as a Virgin Islands people, because I feel that is very important. Because if you do not know where you come from, you do not know who you are, and then you definitely would be kind of lost as where I am going. So I try to weave all of that in, and so of course I had my drafts, first draft, second draft, go back and edit, and ooh, I think I should use this word instead. Yeah, I want to build their vocabulary a little bit, so let me give them a little challenging word here that they could go to the dictionary and find out about it. Oh, let me, you know, use some of the cultural words, some of them that we don't use anymore. Let me include that. And so, you know, of course, just like in the classroom, you're going to have several drafts and different things like that. And after I felt, okay, I call my editor and I say, okay, I have something ready for you. Could you just do the editing process? And which they did. And the editing takes a while,
of course,
because,
it takes a bit.
Of course, you're in line with other people, but you want to make sure it's
That
as
it's done
near
right,
perfect
yeah.
as possible. So that took a while, but and while that was happening, actually, I then said, you know what? Instead of getting somebody else to do the artwork, let me do the artwork.
Incredible.
So I took the time, and at that time, I interviewed my dad. I even had to call my aunt Bernice and ask about certain things and get information, some details. And I did my draft just with writing. Painting is the same thing. So I had several drafts. And the final draft, my dad said, yeah.
Incredible.
That looks like it.
It really looks beautiful. And of course, there's a number of different artworks throughout the book. I cannot wait, not only for the launch, but I'm going to step around it a bit and ask you if you'd be so kind to share with us an excerpt from the book, whichever you decide.
Sure, I can share an excerpt from the book. I'll be happy to do so. So let's see where we're going to go. This one, I think this is my favorite. It comes from chapter 4. It's called Truant.
Okay.
And it's also a story my dad told us, and he still tells us from time to time, of my uncle Sam. We know him as Uncle Sam. The BVI may know him as
Real George.
the late Honorable Real George. So yes, read the book and you'll find out about Uncle Sam or Honorable Real George. So very, very short. So let me just give you a little bit of context, okay? So Uncle Sam, he skipped school one day and he went fishing.
Okay.
And of course, when you have your catch as a young boy, who's thinking of school? So he stayed home, he cooked. But here's what happened.
Interesting.
Something happened because he saw a hat coming up the hill. Intuitively knowing the owner of the hat and the reason for being there at this time of the day, Sam gobbled a few more mouthfuls as quickly as he could. He was just about to hide when the wide-brimmed straw hat entered the yard and stopped. A quick look towards the entrance told Sam all he needed to know. It was the head teacher. He had come to take Sam to school.
Wonderful.
Now, if you want to find out what happened, if the head teacher was able to take Sam to school or not, you must read.
And perhaps even who was the head teacher, because we know culturally things are a bit different. You mentioned earlier about the school being at the church. So it's interesting to see that dynamic.
Exactly. At the time, they would have different head teachers sent to Virgin Gorda who would oversee. And we do have some of those head teachers still alive.
Incredible.
You know, I wouldn't let the cat out of the bag.
Wonderful.
But yes, the head teacher did come to look for Uncle Sam. And back then, the head teacher actually played a key role in everyday life of the children. They actually visited and had compassion and helped and did a whole lot of things. They were the extended family.
Incredible. One of the things that I'm really happy to note, because I was able to get my very own copy of the book, is that it's not just the Little Hill stories, but there's some activities that are attached to this piece of work, which allows the young boys and girls who are going to be reading this to really put into existence the learning, the art of learning. So they're not only reading, but they get to do the activities. In addition to that, one of the things that I love that it highlights is the cultural and heritage aspect of not sown virgin Gorda, which I think is very important for us to highlight.
Yes. I would also like to add a bit about the activities. They're STEAM infused.
Okay.
So, you know, there's something to do with the science, the technology. Yes. So, of course, these are awesome activities to have your students not just doing your regular comprehension, but actually doing activities that's going to make them think, that's going to make them solve problems and different things like that. In addition to this and the activities that are in the book, on my Facebook page, Little Hill Stories, over a period of time, we will be having different activities and challenges that we hope that students and even adults would be, you know, kind enough to participate and have some fun and share what you learned and show us what you did with those challenges.
Wonderful. Mrs. Harris, I am immensely proud of you in being able to bring this to fruition. Again, as I mentioned, I'm glad to see that Sir Roosevelt George is still with us to be able to enjoy this. Congratulations on the piece of work. I look forward to celebrating and sharing with you on Saturday at the official launch. I have to ask you though, and this is maybe a little bit off topic because you've been an educator for over 30 years, and I won't mention the word retirement because you still look 16.
I'm always 16.
What's next?
Oh, what's next? Well, my love is theater. And I'm working behind the scenes on still promoting theater, even though where I'm working now is a bit different. So behind the scenes, I am working on getting us established here. So that's what's happening. So expect plays coming up.
Okay.
Expect different things to happen.
Wonderful. Again, congratulations. Mrs. Harris, before we go, I do want to give you an opportunity to give any final closing words if you so wish.
First of all, I just want to let you know, Ron, that I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you.
And I am elated that you invited me here to share the book. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate the work that you do. You're one of our bright and shining stars. Keep shining and keep moving upward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Viewers, again, I'm so proud to be able to sit with Mrs. Janice George Harris, the author of Little Hill Stories. Of course, we know her as a long-standing educator. I want to make a plea to encourage persons within the community, businesses, especially corporations, because we're always speaking about the importance of literacy and encouraging our young men to read. If you are interested, I would encourage you to sponsor some of these books at each of the various schools. Give Mrs. Harris a call, as she mentioned. The Facebook page, Little Hill Stories, you can always send a message. But I think this is something that we definitely need to get into our schools, and as a corporate society, I see no reason why individual corporations cannot purchase a number of these books and make sure that they get into the hands of our young men. I want to thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll see you at the launch on Saturday, 2:30 at the Methodist Yard in North Sound, Virgin Gorda. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.